Well, let's continue this conversation, and we're joined by the Basic Education Department's Planning and Provincial Support Chief Director, James Ndlebe. Mr. Ndlebe, good evening to you.
Good evening, Dolly.
You've had a listen to Professor Mary Metcalf. Do you believe that there is still noise around this bill? Yes, I suppose the framing around it, that this is a controversial bill, I suppose that is going to remain, I suppose, until it becomes law. But your sense right now, is there still noise around this bill, you think?
I'm not sure, and I really haven't put my finger on the pulse what the noise was all about.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a lot of noise. People have used their resources, their time, their energy to oppose the BELA Bill. But I still don't understand what they were opposing, because all those oppositions are not what is in the BELA Bill.
The Select Committee on Education and Technology, these are members in the National Council of Provinces, which is where it is right now. They were called upon to review the submissions, including the objections concerning the BELA Bill. Based on what you have heard so far, where is that process right now, and how far are we from the finish line?
Okay. I'll give you 3 stages after listening to the public, and then the public had to write to the NCOP, gave their views. Then the NCOP, the Select Committee, sat and went through all those written comments, including those that were collected during the public hearings, and then they had to respond to those. Then later, they had to go through clause by clause to look at what changes they can effect, which clauses can be removed or amended. So that was done last week. Then this week, today, in fact, they were looking at those amended clauses, whether they do make sense. And in all those sittings, they have voted for all those clauses to remain as they are, with minor amendments there and there. Yeah. So the vote has always been 8 provinces saying yes, and 1 province saying no to the BELA Bill. And the voting has been consistent in that fashion.
I'll be keen to know, and I'm sure the viewers will be, so 8 provinces are for the bill, 1 says no. Which province is that?
Well, it's not a secret, because parliamentary processes are open to the public, so the public joined there. Yeah. It is the Western Cape that opposed a lot of clauses, not all of them, but some of the clauses. And eventually the vote are saying the bill needs to proceed.
Perhaps give us 2 or 3, 2, maximum 3, of the clauses that were amended, and I'm paying attention to what you have just said, that these were minor amendments. Yeah. What is it that needed to change?
There's a clause on language, and there's a clause on admission policy.
Yeah.
Where in the original bill, there was a requirement for SGBs to determine these 2 policies. It's clause 4 and 5. But after determining those policies, there was a requirement that they submit to the head of department for approval. And there were a lot of timelines that were put in there. How long should the SGB, after being elected, like they've been elected now in March, it gave them about 30 days to come up with those policies. Yeah. And the HOD has 60 days to approve. If he fails, then it means those policies are regarded as having been approved. So those are issues that through the public hearings and the comments, we also agreed as a department that we're pushing it too much. So those have been removed. The only thing that remains is that the SGB's powers to determine language policies and admission policy remains as it has been.
Yeah.
With a difference that the HOD is the final arbiter. The authority lies with the HOD to determine that. So this is something that has been challenged many times. But when we went to the Constitutional Court, especially the Rivonia case, it is emphasized that the HOD is the authority around these things to approve the language and the admission policy. So at the end, that was agreed upon and it died off. So what you're going to get in the new bill is that the SGBs still do that. But should those policies be found to be wanting in terms of the Constitution and other pieces of legislations in the country, then the HOD must step in. But what is key is that when the HOD steps in, he steps in following particular guidelines and criteria that has been laid by the Constitutional Court. It's not a matter of just bulldozing. Yeah. So there are consultation processes that are put in place, including consulting the community, a broader community as a whole. So that's what is going to happen when you see the new law. In fact, it is saying to you, if parents are finding it difficult to have their learners placed in areas where they live, then we check the admission and the language policy of those schools just to see if they're not discriminatory. And that allows the head of department to step into those positions.
Yeah. Two key areas I'd like to focus on. Let's start with the regulation of home education. Why is this so important for the department? Because as I was reading it, I get a sense that the department has to do home visits to ensure that the conditions are conducive for the child to learn at home.
Yeah, one of the opposition was the need for the department to visit people's home, and we are told we are infringing on privacy, so we removed that. But what remains with home education is that in terms of the Constitution, Section 29, any institution, public, private, needs to be registered. And home education belongs to those that are categorized under independent schooling. So it must be registered. And it must offer a curriculum, and a curriculum that is not inferior to the one that is offered by government in particular.
So who ensures all of this? Is it the guardian? Is it the parent? Working with
the parent needs to register with the Department of Education, inform the department that little Johnny is not coming to your school or any other independent school. I will teach little Johnny at home. The issue is the country needs to know about the whereabouts of these children. Children belong to what we call a compulsory school-going age. Yeah. So there's no way a country may not know whether the child is in a public school or in a private school or is educated at home, because we're trying to ensure that basic right to education. Clearly, you may be surprised that there are children that are kept at home and they've never seen a classroom.
Wow. Have you ever found out from the parent or the guardian why?
We do, but the reasons are not clear.
Jeez. Finally, the other element I wanted to explore is exactly what you've just touched on, the compulsory of grade R. That means that the biggest load of work is on the shoulders of government to make sure that it has or it produces an environment where all the children are able to go to school. But you and I know that we still have challenges where just this week, sadly, we have learnt of a toddler who fell into a pit latrine in the Eastern Cape and died. In situations like that, is government capable of providing education for all?
Let's start here, Chloe. Grade R is being provided for, as you and I are speaking. These 5-year-olds are somewhere receiving education. It may not be in our public institutions, but they are receiving education, either in private homes or in private, what you call creches, and all those. And some of them are already in our schools. Now, to make grade R compulsory, it doesn't mean we're starting from scratch. Yeah. All we're saying is that instead of defining education as grade 1 to 12, let's define it as R to 12. So that in every little corner, when a child is supposed to go to school, don't start him at grade 1. It's too late for that child to catch up. Start him at R, wherever that grade R is offered. So what we're doing is to come up with a curriculum that is already in place and say, make sure our children are not going to want, but they'll start at R. Whether but this is a curriculum for grade R.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean every little child will be accommodated in our institution. But this then opens up, if the law is passed, then opens up government to prioritize these grades. And in schools where there are no grade R classes, start building them. Start building their toilets that are of that age.
Yeah.
Start putting in resources such as learner material for these children. That cannot be done because grade R is not law now. It can only open that tap of government to open up funding into those things. Grade R's parents are the ones that pay school fees and cater for all the needs of those. So we want these little ones to benefit like grade ones, where government then pushes and make sure they are well looked after.
James Ndlebe, let me thank you very much for your time, sir. And thank you for coming in. He is the Basic Education Department's Planning and Provincial Support, a Chief Director there.